Hello everyone, welcome to LUKMAAN IAS. So today we are going to cover modern Indian history in this series of question paper analysis of UPSC Prelims examination. We are going to cover Industrial Revolution, Freedom Struggle, Gandhi Irwin Pact, Socio-Cultural Movement and a significant historical event through previous year questions today. So let us take these questions one by one. Let us take the first question. It says, which of the following statements correctly explain the impact of Industrial Revolution on India during the first half of the 19th century? Options are, Indian handicrafts were ruined. Option B, machines were introduced in Indian textile industry in large numbers. Option C, railway lines were laid in many parts of the country. Option D, heavy duties were imposed on imports of British manufacturers. Okay, so let us see which of these options are correct. And before this, we need to understand what do we mean by 19th century. Okay, when we talk about 19th century, it simply means a time period between 1801 to 1900. Okay, means 1st of January 1801 to 31st of December. Okay, 31st of December 1900. So this particular time period can be considered as 19th century. This can be considered as 19th century. If we talk about the first half of the 19th century, we mean that 1801 to 1850. Okay, 1801 to 1850 will be considered as the first half of the 19th century. Okay, so in this time, okay, they are asking about like what were the impact of Industrial Revolution on India during the first half of the 19th century. As you know that Industrial Revolution has started in 1760s, okay, and it went up to 1820 to 1860s. Okay, so this was the time period when Industrial Revolution has started in Great Britain. But the thing is, like it had impact on industrial. The Industrial Revolution had impact in India as well at that point of time. Okay, so what has happened during because of Industrial Revolution has led to deindustrialization of cottage and handicraft industry in India. Okay, so Industrial Revolution led to deindustrialization of cotton and handicraft industries. Okay, so option A is the right answer for this question, but we are also going to analyze why other options are not correct. Okay, the option B says machines were introduced in Indian textile industry in large numbers. Okay, it says that machines were introduced in Indian textile industry in large numbers. So let us see what has happened, like that machines were introduced in India in 1850s, but it was not introduced in large numbers. Only few machines were introduced, that too in only few select places. What were the places where machines were introduced? They were introduced in Bombay, okay, Ahmedabad, okay, and Calcutta. So these were the places where machines were introduced, but they were introduced in small numbers. Okay, this was just the beginning of introduction of machines. So that's why option B is not correct. If we talk about option C, it says railway lines were laid in many parts of the country. Okay, so the thing is, if you recall, okay, the first railway line in India was introduced, okay, in 1853. Okay, first railway line in India was introduced in 1853. That too between only two places, Bombay and Thane. Okay, it was introduced between two places in Bombay and Thane, between Bombay and Thane. Okay, in the present state of Maharashtra. So the thing is, railway lines were not introduced in many parts. Here it is written many parts, okay, of the country. So it was introduced only in between Bombay and Thane, that too in 1853. So 1853 does not come in first half. It comes in the second half of the 19th century. As I already told, the 1850 to 1900 can be considered as second half, okay, and 1801 to 1850 can be considered as first half. Okay, so this was the time period. So railway lines were introduced only in the second half, that too between Bombay and Thane. So that's why option C is not correct. If we talk about option D, it says heavy heavy duties were imposed on the imports of British manufacturers. So this is not correct. The case is that, like, the Britishers has started using Indian market as a captive market, and they used to export their goods without any taxation in India, and their goods were available at a very cheaper cost over here. So their goods were very competitive. So the thing is, heavy duties were not imposed on the imports of the British manufacturers. So that's why option A is correct for this question. Okay, A is correct. So it was asked in UPSC CSE 2020, and that was question number 23 in the question paper. Now let us talk about the next question for the day. This question talks about that with reference to the book Desher Kotha, written by Sakharam Ganesh Diushkar during the freedom struggle, consider the following statements. Okay, so it gives 3 statements. We need to understand that this particular question is talking about a specific book. This book is Desher Kotha, and they also have given the name of the author. The name of the author is Sakharam Ganesh Diushkar, and they have given 3 statements with reference to this particular book. Okay, it says it warned against the colonial state's hypnotic conquest of mind. Second statement says it inspired the performance of Swadeshi street plays and folk songs. The third statement says the use of Desh by Diushkar was in the specific context of the region of Bengal. Okay, so before we answer this particular question, we need to understand little bit about Sakharam Ganesh Diushkar. Okay, who was he and why he had written this particular book. Okay, so when we talk about Sakharam Ganesh Diushkar, okay, Sakharam Ganesh Diushkar. Okay, so Sakharam Ganesh Diushkar was a Marathi Brahmin. Okay, he was a Marathi Brahmin. Okay, so he was a Marathi person, but like he started, living in Bengal at that point of time. So he came in close contact with Sri Aurobindo. Okay, he came in close contact with Sri Aurobindo. And as you know, like Sri Aurobindo was an intellectual person who was staying in West Bengal at that point of time. Okay, so what he has done, Sakharam Ganesh Diushkar has written a book that is known as Desher Kotha. Okay, he has written a book that is known as Desher Kotha, and through this book he has tried to tell us about the British commercial and industrial exploitation of India. Okay, he tried to tell his opinion to the countryman about the British exploitation and commercial interest in India. Okay, so that was the thing, and in this particular book, right, he has talked about all these things. He warned against the colonial state's hypnotic conquest of mind, and this was mentioned in the last chapters of that particular book. And it inspired the performance of Swadeshi street plays and folk songs in West Bengal, okay, or Bengal at that point of time. And he has used the term Desh, okay, in the specific context of Bengal. Okay, so all these 3 statements are correct. And apart from this, Sakharam Ganesh Diushkar was the first person who has coined or started using the term which is known as Swaraj, okay, which became popular later on during the freedom struggle. And the English version of this particular word was used by Sri Aurobindo, and that word is independence. Okay, that word is independence. So that's why option D is correct for this particular question. Okay, option D is correct. Now let us take the next question for the day. This question says that the Gandhi Irwin Pact included which of the following? Okay, so like this question is about Gandhi Irwin Pact. We need to understand when the Gandhi Irwin Pact has happened and why Gandhi Irwin Pact has happened. So once we understand the background of the Gandhi Irwin Pact, we will be able to understand about various things associated with that particular pact. Okay, so Gandhi Irwin Pact was signed by Mahatma Gandhi and Lord Irwin, and Lord Irwin was the Viceroy of India at that point of time. The Gandhi Irwin Pact was signed after the civil disobedience movement launched by Gandhi. Under the civil disobedience movement, Gandhi has started the Dandi March. Okay, he started Dandi March, and through this particular Dandi March, Gandhi has broke the salt law. Okay, he has broke salt law, and to stop this particular thing, okay, from happening on a mass scale, what the Britishers has started, they have promulgated various ordinances to arrest the people who were participating in the Dandi March or who were involved in the breaking of the salt law. Okay, so on one side there was Mahatma Gandhi, on the other side there was Lord Irwin. So both of them, discussed and came together, and they said, and before this, what has happened, that like they put, into jail all the political prisoners, all the people, like most of the leaders, like who participated in the, breaking of the salt law, the Britishers had put them into jail, okay, including Gandhi. So Gandhi was also sent into jail, and later on the Britishers had decided that we are going to release Mahatma Gandhi, and after then they had, talked together, they had discussed on certain conditions, okay, and after then Gandhi and Irwin has signed a pact, and like for this particular pact there was various proposals from the Indian National Congress side, okay. So Gandhi was representing the Indian National Congress at that point of time, and from the Britishers side it was, Lord Irwin, like who was, like deciding on behalf of the government of India at that point of time. Okay, so this Gandhi Irwin pact included the invitation to Congress to participate in the round table conference. Okay, so like this Gandhi Irwin pact has happened just before the second round table conference. So Indian National Congress was invited to participate in the second round table conference. This was a right statement. Okay, then this particular pact also included withdrawal of ordinances promulgated in connection with the civil disobedience movement. Okay, as I already discussed that like this Gandhi Irwin pact has happened after the civil disobedience movement, and so Britishers had promulgated various ordinances, and through these ordinances they had started prosecution of those people who participated in the breaking of the salt law. So this Gandhi Irwin pact included the withdrawal of ordinances promulgated in connection with the civil disobedience movement. Apart from this, although like it was proposed by Gandhi, Gandhi has suggested that like there should be inquiry on the police excesses during the civil disobedience movement, but this particular proposal of the Gandhi was not accepted by Irwin. So it was not a part of the Gandhi Irwin pact, although it was a part of the proposal, but the pact did not include this particular thing. Okay, if we talk about the fourth statement, it says release of only those prisoners who were not charged with violence. Yes, means like only the political prisoners, means like only those people like who has participated in the breaking of the salt law were released unconditionally, but at the same time those people who participated in violence, okay, like we have Bhagat Singh and his comrades, so those people were not released. Okay, those people were not released. So that's why 1, 2 and 4 are correct. It simply means option B is correct for this particular question. Okay, so let us see the solution. So answer is option B. Now let us take the next question for the day. Let us understand this question. This question says the Vital Vidwanshak, okay, the first monthly journal have the untouchable people. To have the untouchable people as its target audience was published by. Options are Gopal Baba Walankar, option B Jyotiba Phule, option C Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, and option D Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar. Okay, so before we understand this particular topic, we need to understand about what is the meaning of the term the Vital Vidwanshak. Okay, Vital Vidwanshak is stands for destroyer of Brahminical or ceremonial pollution. It stands for destroyer, okay, of Brahminical, okay, or Brahminical or ceremonial pollution, okay, or ceremonial pollution. Okay, so we need to understand that like untouchability has been going on in the society since time immemorial. During the Vedic time also, the society was divided into 4 varnas. Okay, so the highest strata in this society was that of Brahmins. Then came the Kshatriyas, and after them came the Shudras. okay, Vaishyas, then came the Shudras, okay. So society was divided into four Varnas. One of the Varna was Brahmins, who like stayed at the topmost level in the society. Then came the Kshatriyas. Kshatriyas were those people like who were rulers or like fighters, okay. Then when we talk about Vaishyas, they included the, third category in this society, and they were the people like who were involved into businesses. And apart from this, the fourth category in this society was that of untouchables, and they were known as Shudras, okay. So Shudras were considered as the lowest part of the society, and untouchability was practiced against them at that point of time in this society. I'm talking about ancient Indian history. But after then, what has happened, like various people started thinking that like people are being discriminated against, okay. So like in the Constitution of India also, we have Article 17. Article 17, okay, under the Constitution of India specifically prohibits the practice of untouchability, and it is under the right to equality, okay. It is under right to equality, under freedom, fundamental rights in our Constitution now. So like this particular book, which is known as the Vital Vidwanshak, okay, it means the destroyer of Brahminical or ceremonial pollution. What do we mean by Brahminical or ceremonial pollution? It simply means like, from the Vedic times itself, in this society, right, in the Brahminical religion or Hindu religion, the Brahmins started performing lot of rituals, and those rituals or ceremonies, like brought these Brahmins into the highest strata of the society. And at the same time, Shudras were, pushed back into the society. So that's why this particular person, the writer of this particular monthly journal, the Vital Vidwanshak, what he has tried to do, he has tried to raise the voice of those people who were untouchables, because like he thought that, the untouchable should be brought at par with the other, stream at the society. They should be given equal opportunity in the society, okay. So in this question, they are asking about who has written this particular monthly journal. The monthly journal was written by Gopal Baba Walankar. Okay, you should remember that this particular monthly journal was written by Gopal Baba Walankar, and he was an early activist, and he, raised the voice of the untouchables, and he developed a racial theory, okay, and published his first monthly journal, which is known as the Vital Vidwanshak, okay. So apart from this, Gopal Baba Walankar has also participated in, writing articles in Marathi newspapers like Sudharak and Deen Bandhu. Okay, he has written articles in Marathi newspapers like Sudharak and Deen Bandhu. And apart from this, he has also written another, another journal which is known as Vital Vidwanshan. Okay, its spelling is Vital, Vital, Vidwanshan. Viduvvansan. Okay, so what do we mean by Vital Vidwanshan? It means annihilation of ceremonial pollution. Okay, so we should get rid of the ceremonial pollution. So that was the message propounded by Gopal Baba Walankar through this Vital Vidwanshan. Okay, so having understood this, let us move to the next question. Okay, so this is the next question. Let us take this question. It says, in the context of Indian history, the Rakmabai case of 1884 revolved around. Statements are: 1. Women's right to gain education. 2. Age of consent. 3. Restitution of conjugal rights. Okay. If we read these statements closely, we will come to know that these two topics are closely associated with one another. Age of consent and restitution of conjugal rights. Many of you may not be able to understand what do we mean by restitution of conjugal rights. Let's consider there is a couple, like they got married, okay. After their marriage, right, the wife does not stay with the husband. Wife stays with her in her, in her hometown, means like in her mother house, in her, original house. She does not come to the, to the marital life, or she does not, start living with her spouse. Okay, in that case, the spouse or the husband will have a right, okay, to seek restitution of conjugal rights. What it means, that he will have a right to seek that his wife should come and start staying with him. So same is the case in case of wife also. Let's consider a wife marries to her husband, and the husband does not stay with her. So she will also have similar rights. She can, seek the restitution of conjugal rights. It simply means she wants to live with her husband after their marriage. Okay. So these two topics are closely associated. I will tell you the answer first, then we will discuss about this in detail. Okay, so answer for this question is 2 and 3, which means option B. First is not correct. Okay, and we will discuss about Rakmabai case and especially about Rakmabai. Okay, so Rakmabai was the first practicing female doctor in colonial India. She was the first practicing female doctor in colonial India, and her case, this particular case brought about, this particular case has brought about restitution of conjugal rights. Okay, it has brought about consent of, Age of Consent Act 1891. It has led to the enactment of Age of Consent Act, okay, 1891. And apart from this, what has happened, Rakmabai was 11 years of age, and at that point of time she was married to another person. His name was Dadaji Bhikaji. Okay, so Dadaji Bhikaji was 19 years of age at the time of marriage. So after marriage, Rakmabai did not go to stay with Dadaji Bhikaji. So after 12 years of marriage, Dadaji Bhikaji has filed a case in a court of law seeking restitution of conjugal rights. Okay, he has filed a case in a court of law seeking restitution of conjugal rights. And after numerous hearings, okay, so Dadaji Bhikaji has filed a case in 1884, and 1885, like after numerous hearings, what has happened, that the courts have decided. Initially, the courts has told that like Rakmabai was married at a very young age. At that point of time, she was not aware that she was getting married, and she did not have any say into that particular marriage. Okay, but later on, after numerous hearings, the court has decided that Rakmabai should go and start living with her husband. Okay, if she does not obey the verdict of the court, then she will be put behind the bars. Means she will be sent to the jail for 6 months. But Rakmabai was very firm in her decision that she does not want to go and start living with her husband. So she stayed back with her stepfather, okay, and she continued her education. And after then, the Rakmabai said like, I will rather go to jail instead of going to my husband's house. And she has written a letter to the Queen Victoria. Okay, she has written a letter to Queen Victoria. And when Queen Victoria read that particular letter, she has dissolved the marriage of Rakmabai. Okay, and this particular case has gained lot of prominence. Okay, it has gained lot of, it has covered headlines in various newspapers back then in England, and also this particular case has got limelight in India as well. And this has led to, okay, passage of the Age of Consent Act of 1891. Okay, so this is a very important question that we have covered. So that's all that we had to discuss for the day. Thank you so much everyone for attending this session. I hope you have a great day ahead.